So dads, I'm going to need you to listen today. Happy Father's Day, first of all, but this message comes with our leadership. Ladies, I need you to listen too, because it's meant for everybody. It's not one side or another side. But men, this comes with our leadership. It is statistically proven the church attendance in families that are led by the husband leading them to church is far greater in their children in adulthood than being led by moms. Moms, you have a great important impact, okay? But somebody made the comment when dad says something, where'd she go? When dad says it's got to be done, right? Okay, there is a natural way that God created men and women that is not a bad thing. It's a positive thing. And men, you have a role in the family and in the church that is just as important as the mothering and caring and the beautiful way that women express love. It's just as important. All right? And I think today's message, in a roundabout way, will get us right to the core of that, because it deals with something that, men deal with. When men make mistakes, we don't like to talk about it. Okay? When men make mistakes, we like to hold it on the inside. And sometimes we don't even like church because it causes us to have to talk about some things we don't want to talk about. We don't like being vulnerable. Ladies, you got that one down. It's yours. You own it. I love you for it. It's easier for you to express your feelings, or at least show the idea of expressing your feelings, even if you're not expressing the true ones that are deep underneath. Because we all know, we've all experienced that, men, we got to figure out what they're actually saying. I got a little feedback on that. All right, and I'm okay with that. All right, but there's often we're trying to figure out what we're really saying. You know what? This is something. This is also part of the message. I want you guys to hear this. All right, okay. Sometimes we get lost in what we mean, and see, men are we like it pretty straight, pretty simple. Okay, and we don't want to have to guess what you're trying to get across to us. So just a little announcement there. We don't like guessing. We like to just, okay, honey, sounds good. And whether we do it or not, there's another conversation. But in the moment, we want to know what the expectation is and try to follow through with that. All right? I know we come up short, but it's just. And then let me flip this around. Gentlemen, sometimes you don't want to know what's going on in their heart and mind. All right? Sometimes it gets a little dangerous because they need something done. They want something done. They're looking forward to you, solving whatever problem it is that they want solved. All right? But they want you to do that from the goodness of your heart and the joy of just making their life better and providing that comfort for them. And I know the football game is on, or the work needs to get done. And we'll get to it, ladies, we'll get to it. But there's just this natural thing that goes on between us men and women and how that works. But men, I want you to realize you have an important role. Ladies, you have an important role too. We're going to get into 1 Corinthians chapter 13 a little bit later, so we'll also be in John chapter 21. All right. and we're going to look at this thing. Thank you, Penny. You laid a beautiful, in the children's message, using John, 1 John chapter 4, 7, and 8. You laid out a very good start to this conversation today. But, I could go on and get myself in a whole lot more trouble. I'm just trying to figure out how to get out of it right now. So moving forward. John chapter 21, verses 15 through 24. Peter is dealing with a circumstance, and he's dealing with his feelings. He's dealing with his failure. He's dealing with his inadequacies. All right? And so that's what we're going to be looking at. And remember this. Just remember this. Everything in this whole thing that John has written forward or put out is for this purpose. He's written it for what? He's written it so that we might believe and that we might have life. So what he puts in about Peter is for you and I to wrestle through and understand and try to grasp. Because following Jesus, men, messes with our feelings. It messes with our emotions. It messes with our understanding of the world. It changes the very nature of who we think we are. We think we have to have control over everything and authority over everything. Because if we don't do that, we've learned that things fall apart and don't work. So we got to fix it. We got to make it right. We've got to do this in a way that's going to, keep everybody happy. And this is a place where we can't admit when we fail. And when we struggle, and when we hurt. And so John is going to cause us to wrestle at the very last thing he does. He's going to cause us to wrestle with our relationship and our mission and our purpose. But he's going to do it by causing us to think through this word, love. What does it look like? What is it supposed to be? How are we supposed to live it out? And this is why I'm addressing this. Ladies, it's important for you too, but this is why I'm addressing it straight to the men today. We need to hear this. If you're over 10 years old, listen up. Because this is for you. 10 is arbitrary. Could be 9 for some of you. All right? Start with this. Jesus claimed 8 statements, and we've gone over this several times in the book of John. He claimed to be what? The source of the living water. You guys remember that? All right? He was speaking to the woman at the well, and in that moment, he says, I've got water that you will never thirst again. And because of that, he was trying to get her to understand that, and trying to get us to understand that he is the source of all life. He is the source of what sustains us. So this is important to get this through, okay? He also goes on to says that he is the bread of life. He's the substance. Okay? Water, the spirit. Bread, the substance. He is all you need. For us men, I already got a problem with Jesus' teachings. Because we often think we're all we need. We often get into that frame of mind that we get stuck and we have to solve the problem. If we're not going to do it, nobody's going to do it. If I can't fix it, and we try to get into that mode. I know ladies that do this too. All right, don't take this one way or another fully 100%. We're not getting into that. This isn't an us versus them, but the reality is this is a habit that men have. The majority of men that I wrestle through and work with and have conversations with and try to help them on, life, this is where their struggle is. They fail to surrender and acknowledge that Jesus Christ is the source of all they need. And they try to look for anything and everything else. And just to bring that home a little bit further, he takes this right back to creation. And as he says that I am the light of the world. Light is what reveals it. It opens up truth to us. It allows us to see the world as we're supposed to see it. He says he's the light of the world so that you can see what is before you and know truth. And then he says this, and this is what gets us. I am the door, the gate. You have to trust me, and you have to come through me, and you have to rely on me, because then he goes forward and says, I am the good shepherd. I will guide you. And if there's one thing that all of humanity suffers with, but men, we do too, that is being guided. We don't even like looking at a map. We certainly aren't going to ask for directions. If Google can't get us there, and Jesus is saying, I am the good shepherd. Trust me. Trust me. And then there's this another one that goes right along with that door and gate thing, and we've talked about this before. It is inclusive in this way. Everybody needs to hear it, and it's said to every human being. But because you have to trust, accept that he is the source, and that you have to put yourself in the right position, on the right path. You got to put yourself in the right pen. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through Jesus. No one. There is no other path that gets us there. And then he says, this is the next one that men have a problem with. Even I'll tell you, I might be the guiltiest of this one at times. He says, I am the vine. Stay connected to me. Abide in me. Now there's a part to this. If he's the water, if he's the source that we need, and he is flowing through the vine, then we as the branches being connected to him receive the water. If he's the light, we receive the light. And it's not through actions of us forcing it. It's just by being in the right place. Being connected. And so this is that starting spot that we need to have. Now, Peter. We like to pick on Peter. But he is a very fatherly figure. I look at him, sometimes I see myself, sometimes I see my grandpa, sometimes I see my dad. He's a very fatherly figure. He's ready to go get it done. He wants to go out, and this is his whole lifestyle. He speaks before he thinks it through. He takes action. He doesn't look for the instructions. He builds it. And whatever the result is, sorry about that part there. I'm not sure what that one went to, but we'll figure it out later. Whatever the result is, he stands up and he pushes through anyway. And that seems like a good thing, and it absolutely is. It's exactly who Jesus chose to be the rock. Okay? The place in which his church was going to be started and built, he wanted Peter to be a central figure and a leader in that. Peter had just led his disciples out to go fishing after they had experienced the death and the resurrection. And everybody was looking to Peter because, he's Peter. But just a little bit ago, he's the guy who cut off the ear Jesus had to heal because Peter wasn't thinking about what Jesus was doing. He was thinking about what he wanted Jesus to do. How do you pray? How do you expect? Do you expect Jesus to do this for you versus you stepping into the right place and doing this for him? Think about that for a moment. So Peter, he jumps ahead, cuts off the ear. Jesus has to heal him. So, hey, Peter, this is not what I came for. Everything that I've taught you all these 3 years has nothing to do with leading an army. Your manhood is not in danger here. Just surrender. Let me do the work. I told you this was going to happen. And so how is Peter feeling? He was ready to jump and do. He was ready to go to the cross with Jesus. And Jesus said, no, and scolded him. This was not my purpose. How's Peter going to feel? Men, how would you feel? You've been working hard at it. You've been doing it. You've been making it happen. You've been fixing and fixing and fixing. And now all of a sudden, Jesus comes along and says, that's not what I asked you to do. We men, we're going to probably choose a different path because we won't want to deal with it. And this is the natural kind of thing. So what did they do? They went fishing. We go back to what we know, what we're comfortable with. This is our natural state. We go back to what we're comfortable with. I'm not dealing with the argument. I'm going to go. Now, interesting enough, Peter, being who Peter is, everybody followed him. And then last week we learned that Jesus comes out there and of course they didn't catch anything because that's not what Peter's supposed to be doing. That's not what the disciples are supposed to be doing. They don't catch anything. So Jesus tells them how to catch it, even though they're professionals at it. Tells them to go put it on the other side of the boat, like changing the side of the boat really changes what. But anyways, big school of fish. They're close enough to shore that they're even able to haul it in because they have to pull the net in, by hand. Tells us exactly 153 fish. Hilarious moment. I don't know why. 153 exactly. But anyways, we have this moment and Peter is still there. Peter still has every one of those emotions and every one of those things in his heart. He's looking at Jesus, but is he looking at Jesus in the eyes or is he looking like this? Because he knows he failed Jesus. And he knows that he did not follow what Jesus wanted. And he's still carrying the guilt and the shame of being scolded by Jesus. A grown man. We're the best at pouting. We absolutely are. Guys, I know everybody, I'm looking at you. Okay? When we are feeling guilty or down or shamed, we don't want to talk to anybody. We want to process it in our own heart and mind, and when we're done processing it, maybe we'll talk about it. Maybe. Peter's right there in that spot. And I want to get us to that spot where we understand where Peter is this morning. Jesus cooks breakfast for him, has that conversation, and we get here to John chapter 21, verse 15. When they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Yes, Lord, he said. You know that I love you. Stop right there. We've got to look at this. And this is where Penny, thank you, okay? God is love. We got to love one another. What is love? In the English language, we have one word we kind of lump a whole bunch of other ideas into what is love. And it causes some confusion. And we've turned around and we've had a recent period of redefining love as acceptance. And that acceptance is important. Don't get me wrong. Accepting one another is important. We want to accept people where they are, wherever they are. But that is not love. Okay? Love and acceptance are not the same thing. These words here in the Greek are very important for us to get to the depth and understanding. The first love that Jesus asks the question, he says, do you love me? That word is agape. All right? It is an unconditional, all-encompassing, cherished, longed desire type of love. It's not the kind of love that John responded with, which is brotherly. Brotherly love is, we're in this together. We're brothers. Of course you know, Jesus, I'm your brother. I'll go to jail for you. I'll do whatever. Don't you know I cut off that soldier's ear? I'm willing to do this, whatever it takes, I'm willing to do it. That's Peter's love. But Jesus was asking a very different question. And we've got to grasp and understand that question. So to get there, turn with me to 1 Corinthians chapter 13. I asked you guys to put that in your fingers and make sure that you were able to have that ready. And we're going to read chapter 13. It's often known as the love chapter. I don't want to miss a part of this, so we will focus on a couple of things. But I don't want to miss anything in this chapter. It says, if I speak in tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. How important is love? I can do the most spiritual things, but if I do not have love, I'm just making a bunch of noise. Hear that. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and I have faith that can move mountains, but I do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Men, listen to this. If I work all day for my family, and I do all my responsibilities and take care of everything that I need to take care of, and I feed them and make sure they have everything they need, and I buy them extra stuff on top of that, but do not have love, I have nothing. But yet, one of the very actions of love is to go do and to take care of and to do these things. Sometimes it's our love language that leads us into trouble like that. If this is your love language to go do things, don't you know that I love you by what I do? Yes, but we have to improve all of our language, just not one part of it. To speak in love, we might have to shift how our heart works a little bit, shift what we're doing a little bit to ensure that those who are receiving our love are receiving it. Because this is love in its completeness. Remember this, guys. Everybody, hear me. This next part is God's love described. It is not what we can do on our own. It requires, it's not something you can just, it's something you have to allow God to do in you. And the more your relationship is tied to Him, the deeper you are in relationship with Him, the deeper you study Him, the more this will become true in you. Because as you study Him and as you allow Him to be, yes, Lord, yes, I will. As you allow that to become you and become part of who you are, then these things will become natural outflows because it'll be God flowing out of you, not you forcing it. We have to receive from the source. We have to abide in Him. And so it's a matter of position. But here is what love is supposed to look like. Love is patient. We like that one. Right? We like that one. We talk about that one a lot. Love is kind. We love that one. It does not envy because it accepts all things. Hold on, Matt. Don't read into it. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. Those are culturally, generally acceptable, right? Those are generally culturally acceptable. We like to hang our hats on those because it is, nobody's going to argue with any of those. Next one. It is not self-seeking. Okay, all right. Might be a little hard on myself on that one. How do I figure that one out? I don't want to be self-seeking. I want to be others focused. I can approve of that. But I got to take care of myself sometimes. And I'm not going to get deep into that discussion, but we can get lost in there, okay? But this next couple ones here. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Whoa, that's beyond me. And then this one. Love does not delight in evil. Well, so much for that acceptance word. So much for everything goes, I just got to love. So much for the whole concept of, what our modern culture views love as. Love does not accept evil, but rejoices in the truth. And this is why love requires leadership in the family. This is why love requires a standard of truth. Because it always protects. Because it always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. Because the world is going to attack love. It's going to try to rewrite it. It's going to try to make it something that it is not. And we are responsible for protecting it. But we can't do that on our own. We can't. We need the Spirit of God in us to do that. And then there's this one. In counseling, I've had this one thrown at me by one side or the other so often. Love never fails. This is God's love. God's love is always going to be truthful, even if it hurts. God's love is not going to rejoice in evil. It's going to stand against evil. God's love is always going to persevere. God's love is always what we should trust. God's love is the ultimate of all hope. That is why it never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. We know in part, we prophesy in part, but when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the childhood behind me. For now, we see only a reflection as in the mirror, then we will see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am Lord. And now these three things remain: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. Not what we do, not even what we say, but this all-encompassing idea of God's love being alive in us, revealed in us, drawing us into rightness, into goodness. Jesus speaks of this love when he's dealing with Peter. And if it doesn't, it makes me uncomfortable at times. Feed my lambs. Again, Jesus said, Simon, son of John, do you agape me? Yes, Lord, you know I phileo you. You guys hear that? You know I'm your brother. You know I'll go to jail with you. You know I'll do anything for you. Take care of my sheep. Third time, he said to him, Simon, son of John, do you agape me? Peter was hurt. As Jesus said it a third time. And men, we struggle with that. Do you agape me? And he said, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. And then Jesus said, feed my sheep. And very truly, I tell you, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted, but when you are old, you will stretch out your hands and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go. Jesus said this to indicate the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. And then he said to him, follow me. Are we following Jesus? Are you following Jesus? Will you feed his sheep? Will you take care of his lambs? Will you see his mission, his purpose? Let me put it in another term. Do you take care of his bride? That comes in two levels. Do you take care of your family? Do you take care of your spouse? And do you take care of his church? Do you provide for her? Do you lift her up? Do you cleanse her? Do you make her complete? Ephesians tells us that's exactly what the whole marriage thing's about, is to teach us how to do that. How to take care of the church. As we learn to take care of our spouse and our family. And this is the ultimate mission and the ultimate purpose in what we're doing in the togetherness. But there's a purpose in that remains with this that's even beyond that. That Peter will have to go through this life lesson. God's not done teaching Peter yet. 3.5 years wasn't enough for Peter. It's not enough for me either. Peter's going to need other moments. It's one of the reasons we like him so much. We get to see his life laid out. But then in that part of it, Peter's also just typical like us. Peter turned in verse 20. Jesus says, follow me, right? Peter's first response, listen to this, guys. Peter's first response. He turned and saw that the disciple whom Jesus loved, who's John, the author of the book, was following them. This was one that had leaned back against Jesus at the supper and said, Lord, who is going to betray you? Because Peter had asked him to. That was a conversation that they were having. Hey, ask Jesus. So here it is. All right. When Peter saw him, he asked, Lord, what about him? Why are you picking on me? Why are you so focused on me? I messed up. I get it. I love you, Jesus, but come on. Why are you picking on me right now? Why do I have to be the one that takes all the guilty and the shame? Why do I have to feel this way? I don't like it. What about him? And Jesus answered in Jesus' fashion. If I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you? You must follow me. I'm not talking to him right now. When I talk to him, I'll talk to him. Right now, I'm talking to you. So much like us. So much like us. But we have to come to that place where we meet Jesus face to face. We have to acknowledge who he is. We have to we have to lay down our shame and our guilt and let him lift us up out of that. We have to come to that place and acknowledgement of who Jesus is. And it's not based on who he is for your neighbor. It's not even based on who he is for your spouse. God will deal with them on their terms. Your job is to reveal him so that God can deal with them. Your job is to reveal him, to show all that he is, to demonstrate God's love so that they may understand and look and see what it is. It's a big responsibility, I get it. But you're not responsible for how they respond to it or what happens in their heart and their life. You're responsible for yours. And how are you responding? Are you avoiding him? Are you spending more time in the tool shed so you don't have to talk to him? Are you treating him like you treat others? Or are you trusting him? Placing him in the rightful place in your heart and your life, giving him the seed of your life, trusting that he is the source, planting yourself in the vine so that you can be nourished. This is what Jesus came to do. And he called you and I to be a part of this. Hebrews chapter 2, verse 10, in bringing many sons and daughters to glory, it was fitting that God, for whom and through whom everything exists, should make a pioneer of their salvation, perfect through what he suffered. Both the one who makes people holy and those who are made holy are of the same family. Did you guys catch that? So Jesus is not ashamed to call them brothers and sisters. Peter was saying, of course I'm your brother. Of course I'll go there with you. Jesus is responding, I did this because you're my brother. I did this for you. How are you going to respond? I have shown you what love is to look like. I have demonstrated it for you. I have laid down my life, and I have called you my friends, and I've called you my brothers, and I've called you my sisters. I have called you. How will you respond? And I've called you to go, to share it with the world, to demonstrate it, to live it out, to become the leaders in your homes and in your families and in your communities and in your churches. I have called you to become what I need you to be so that your testimony will reach others. Verse 24, this is the disciples who testify about these things. This is talking John about himself. And who wrote them down. We know that his testimony is true. Is your testimony true? And Jesus did many other things as well. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that even the whole world would not be able to have enough room for the books that would have been written. What is your testimony? What is your testimony? Does it reveal love? Have you wrestled through this enough to say, I'll follow Jesus? I will say yes. I'll acknowledge what he has done for me. Have you come to that moment? Have you had that conversation with him about what he has said to you and I? Do you love me? Feed my sheep. Do you love me? Care for my lambs. Do you love me? Do this in my name. And trust me. Become the leader that I'm calling you to be. I'm a firm believer in this. We are all leaders. I'm a firm believer in this because I have walked through life long enough. If you're a mom, raise your hand. You're leading. So if you sit here and tell me you're not a leader, you're a leader. If you're a dad, raise your hand. You're a leader. You don't have to be a preacher to be a leader. You don't have to be a politician to be a leader. You don't have to be king to be the leader. All you have to do is have influence on those around you, and you have influence on those around you. Feed my sheep. Care for my lambs. Father God, John just lays it out and ends it right there. Couldn't it have been a little bit softer, a little easier? I am grateful that he used Peter and not me. But I know that it's my heart that has to be wrestled through and my position, because as a human being, Lord, I desire to control my own destiny. And so, Lord, you're saying that it is not about my destiny, but about love, which is about others. Correct my heart. Make my testimony true. May all praise go to you. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Happy Father's Day.